Hello, welcome to my podcast on performance, maximizing performance discussions. So, this is part of my YouTube channel, Professor R.J. Placone on communication excellence. If you like these videos, please initiate your free subscription. So, I've done a lot of work writing performance management programs. I've done a lot of work around employee satisfaction, doing surveying. And if there's one thing I've learned through my research and multiple decades of focusing on performance processes is by and large, they're disliked by employees. In fact, usually they're the least favorite of all HR programs. The second thing I've come to observe is that most managers don't do this well. They see it as an unnecessary evil, something they have to check a box and do, but don't spend enough time on it to do it well to gain the benefit from it. So, today I just want to talk about some of the best approaches when you're having a meeting around performance. And I would differentiate here. Performance management is that ongoing process throughout the year where you're meeting regularly with employees, most typically in one-on-one settings, and you'll have a performance appraisal perhaps once a year. But the kinds of things I'm talking about here really apply to any performance meeting. So, first and foremost, schedule the meetings. Make sure that there are regular meetings that are on the calendar that just are you and your employee spending some time together. It's so easy to get caught up in the day to day. We tend to forget to schedule these things. Or we schedule them and then we move them or eliminate them because something else becomes a higher priority. And sometimes that is true. But I think you should try to do everything in your power to preserve these meetings and not just shorten them, eliminate them, because it sends the message that, yes, these aren't that important. And they are that important. So when you do meet, how can you budget your time? I recommend, say you have an hour meeting, I would spend three 20-minute segments in that hour. First of all, I would have the first third devoted to hearing out the employee. Since you last met, what does the employee think went well and what did not go so well? Allow them to talk about that. Probe a little bit when, say, you as a manager don't understand. Give as much detail as you can as the employee. If you're in the manager position, you might say, okay, what is the status of the things that haven't gone well? Are we already past it, or is there still something we can salvage? What would you do differently next time when faced with some similar situations? And what could I do differently to support you throughout that process? Having that kind of dialogue to reinforce that you're a team, it's a give and take, it's not just sort of this is what you did well, this is what you didn't do well, end of story. It's usually much more nuanced than that. Then, and make sure that when you're talking about performance, you're always focused both on how employees and how you as an employee are meeting the job requirements. How are you satisfying the different requirements that are outlined for you typically in a job description? Also, how are you enacting the core competencies that are particularly important to the organization, to the work group? Could be around communication, teamwork, innovation, any of a number of competencies. So it should focus both on job responsibilities and the general competencies. And sometimes they don't align well. You could have somebody that is doing a heck of a job in the job responsibility category, but not doing a good job in some competency area. Maybe it's teamwork. Maybe they undermined other team members to get the job done. In that case, I wouldn't praise that person as a star performer. You may want to even put them on a performance plan because unless they rectify that, you'll probably be losing others. So you have to deal with folks that are getting the job done, but they're doing it at a cost to the work team. So the first third really focuses on employee perception. They're playing the lead. You as a manager are just responding. Now the table gets turned in the second third of the presentation, of the meeting, excuse me. And that's where you would talk about your view of what's going well, what hasn't gone well since the last meeting, some of your theories on why that would be the case, why things went well, why things didn't go well, and then offer an opportunity for the employee to provide their feedback and comment on what you're saying. Try to be as specific as possible, give specific details in the examples you share. Try to be balanced in what you're saying. You offer, all sides of the performance, the good, the bad, the ugly, and you certainly don't sugarcoat the bad. You want to be very direct. Unless you're direct, people may hear what they want to hear and may not act in the future the way they hope you will act. The final third really focuses on the future, what you see some of the trends are. You should have a dialogue, a give and take around sort of the trends of performance, any changes that you foresee in the workplace, maybe strategic initiatives that could impact what the job responsibilities are, may even bring a certain competency to a forefront. Have that kind of conversation in the final third where you're really projecting into the future. And maybe you could agree upon one thing that the employee could work on in between meetings. You don't want to overwhelm people with this long list of to-dos. You want to focus on one behavior, one skill at a time. That's when you'll see progress, when you can start to focus and measure. And then you just come to some agreement as to how you can support. I see these performance discussions to be very much two-way. And one of the ways when I manage people, I would like to end is I would say, tell me one thing that if I did differently, it would make it easier for you to do your job. Just to see, and I would always say one thing, because if you just open it up, generally people will say, well, gee, nothing I could think of. But if you say one thing and you push and you ask that question regularly, you may find some things out as a manager that you didn't realize, and you could change some of your behaviors that then could lead to people performing at even higher levels. So those are some of the tips that I would suggest that certainly worked for me, that worked for others, many of whom I've coached over the years. So I hope you give them a try, and I hope that performance meetings will not be so poorly rated in your organization, and it will be something that both you and others see value in and get the most out of. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.